Hey, beautiful souls.
Welcome to B2B Beautiful. I am Coach Charmin D. Energetic, heartfelt, and always keeping it real.
And I'm Coach Lynette, more reserved, tenacious, honest, and a little funny.
Together, we're here to guide you through transforming your bitterness
Into something truly beautiful. Join us on this journey of healing and empowerment.
Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome to Beautiful. I am Coach Charmin D, and we are so excited to be here. I'm turning it over to Coach Lynette. Hey, beautiful souls. This is Coach Lynette, and we are live and in person with the Brian Hubert. He is our millionaire mentor, and we are happy because we've talked about it for some time to have a male's perspective, right? So let's get started. All right, Brian, welcome to Bitter to Beautiful.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, so my name is Brian Jubert, aka Rich Boy, and everybody thinks Rich Boy is about my lifestyle, but not so.
Well.
Not totally. It's really about my passion, and my passion is teaching entrepreneurship, business, taxes, and really just anything financial literacy. And Rich Boy is RICHBOI, and that stands for really interested in caring how businesses operate internally.
Okay.
So, and that's the thing, because we have to understand an internal part. When we talk about relationships, we know that the foundation, which is the internal part, has to be strong.
Yes.
You're building a house, the foundation has to be strong. And just like in business, that internal, is the foundation, your foundation. You need to have taxes done. You need to have profit and loss statement. You need to have those types of things in order for it to grow and succeed. So that's where Rich Boy comes from. Been in the business. I've been entrepreneur over 30 years. Been in the tax business over 20. It's my 28th year. Originally from New Orleans. Graduate of Southern University Business School. Come from very humble beginnings. I would say hood family.
Okay.
Not hood is I ain't gonna say my parents, hood is our environment was. So, I'm no really different, had a journey that most people are very, very surprised about. We can always get into that, but, like I said, just love helping, love assisting, love watching people grow, and all about collaboration and manifesting greatness into people.
Wow. Okay. So, Brian, we know you just wrote a book.
Yes.
So tell us what's behind the book. Tell us about the book.
Well, the book is called, this is the second edition of this particular book. It's called Still Running with Blinders. The first edition was Running with Blinders. So this is Still Running with Blinders because 10 years later, we're still doing the same thing in businesses. And it's called Still Running with Blinders, the top 17 mistakes of small business. So what I do is I identify the most common mistakes in small businesses, but then not only just identify it, I show you how to correct it. I show you techniques and give you tips on how to improve. This second edition, what makes it so much more powerful is it's a book of gratitude. I show a lot of love to people that helped me along the way. And I've been very successful for a long time. I got a lot of information, a lot of experiences. So I wanted to put it in book form so that way it can go out to the masses. That way people in California, people in Japan, no matter where you are, you can still get the book and read it.
Yes.
And so now it tells a little bit what's different with this version is it's a semi-autobiography. So it talks about my life. It talks about my history, from when I was a kid all the way through all of the good things, bad things that I've been through, all my progresses, all my wins, and a little bit about me. So you get to learn about me. The glossary is enhanced. So, I push it toward younger kids. I tell people with these things, we need to learn terminology young. So we need to learn what a profit and loss statement, taxes, balance sheet. When you 5, 6 years old, start learning that. You can learn these rap songs.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
Learn those types of things. So, it gives a little bit of something to everybody. It has a modified business plan in there. But everything along the way, even with the lessons, everything has tips on that's going to motivate you and help you grow. From my bad thing, from the glossary, the acknowledgments, everything. So it's a powerful book, I believe.
Okay. So we know Brian we always talk about our Millionaire Mompreneur Hub, and once per week he would come into our rooms and he would drop some gems, nuggets, sometimes boulders, but they were very relatable and it made you think, things that make you say, So So we know that you run a very successful tax business, but success doesn't come without setbacks, right? So how has overcoming personal trials shaped the way that you lead your business today?
But what it did was, and we talk about personal trials, and I talk about this in the book. And one of my personal trials is I was incarcerated. But I say in everything there's a blessing, because the beautiful thing about it is I learned taxes while I was incarcerated.
Okay.
And so when I came out, it basically allowed me to now manifest something that I took in a negative sense to make it a positive. And so I think one of the trials in that was it showed me no matter what situation you go through, there's a positive in everything. It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to what happens to you. And so it showed me that, man, you can overcome anything. If you went through this, survived it, and came out better, then everything else is tribute. Even being shot, I talk about this in the book as well. I was shot when I was a teenager. But if you listen to it, it showed me that life can end at any time. Like, I'm going to Popeyes, me and my friends, and an attempted robbery, and so now, so who would have ever thought? So what it showed me was those trials showed you got to live like every single day, because your expiration date is not scripted for you. So you don't know. So you got to live in the moment. You got to live in the now. You got to live every day in that mindset.
Yes. God does all things well. We always say there's always a reason for something, a reason for you to pivot, a reson for you to grow. So it's necessary to have gratitude and know that God does all things well. So let's talk about some personal things. Okay. personal things. So, because Bit the Beautiful, we encourage women who have been hurt and pain. We help them to move past being bitter and angry and unforgiving to transform to being beautiful. So is there advice, and what I'm hearing from the streets is from the streets. What I'm hearing is that you've experienced a divorce before.
Yeah.
And, sometimes they can be pretty, sometimes they're not. I happen to travel with my ex-husband, with my new husband. So it's a thing. So my question is to you, how did you deal with the divorce? And what advice can you give to women who happens to go through that from a man's perspective? How to heal, how to be whole, how to move past being stuck?
And I would say the number one thing, and when I see, this situation, and even in my own situation, is I think a lot of times women look for the reasons why. And that kills them, because they consistently just like, why? What did I do? What did I didn't do? And what I would like to tell women is, sometimes it's just not you. It's him.
Most of the time.
You can do everything right. You can do everything right as a woman, but you can't make that other person transform when you want them to transform or be who you want them to be if they're not ready. And like you said, most of the time that may be the case. So, I women, like, it wasn't you, and I would say in my case, it wasn't her, it was me. So, if there's any blame or like went wrong, what did I do? It's probably nothing you did. A lot of time it's the other person. And I would tell women sometimes you can move on knowing that you wasn't at fault. You couldn't have done nothing different. Because sometimes people are just not ready. Like, we think age is the maturity thing. Age is not maturity. It's some 40, 45, 50-year-olds out there that basically have the maturity level of a 25-year-old.
Wow.
And so we say, well, you know what? He's 45. You would think that he's not mature yet. He's old.
He's just old.
He's just old. He's not old. And so again, this is why, I think a lot of people carry that thinking it was something that they did and that they could have done different. And I think women, sometimes have to reflect and say, all right, you know what? It's not me. And it's okay to ask your spouse too. If y'all have still good time, like, all right, what could I have done different? Because that could help you move on. And I say, if y'all have a conversation and say, all right, what could I have done different to make our relationship last? And I guarantee you, 90% of the time, the man gonna say, you know what? It wasn't what you could do.
Wow.
Like, it was me. I just wasn't in that place. I wasn't in that space. I wasn't ready. Or he may tell her. But what's gonna happen is now that she knows, when she go into that next relationship, she know what to do differently. Because maybe he might say, you know what? He was just too smothered. Insecurities that I gave you no reason. because you may have insecurity because you were small, because of, but now I know, because now I know if I have insecurities and I can't reflect back to nothing he really did, it's something I may need to work on. So now I may need to go to therapy. So it's okay. I would say the second thing is ask that person, what could I have done differently? And I think that could help, because again, I don't think we communicate those type of things in relationships. And a lot of times we just move on with no closure of why. And that could possibly bring closure. And that way, when you bring closure, you start to heal, and now you can move on.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. Starting to heal, sisters. It's heal. Okay, heal.
Starting to heal. So back to the little birdie. A little birdie told us that you hired someone special in your company. So after your divorce is something that took place over time.
Yeah, I have a lot of frustrations. So, and I hired someone.
You hired your ex-wife?
No.
You didn't hire your ex-wife?
No, I got Jack for the original business from my ex-wife.
Oh, so we're going to have that part. Okay.
Yeah, no, I got Jack. I had to start from scratch. And so, but again, when you ask again about overcoming trials and tribulations, if I wouldn't have went through all that stuff earlier, so even with having to pay a substantial amount of alimony, her taking the business, all those things, I had to start. If I didn't have those things that happen and made you realize, bro, like you can rebound from anything. Like you've been through enough stuff to where it was detrimental by society standards, but by your standards, it's just a start over. And so with me, I had to get a new office, and again, it supports the theory that I have, because even when getting that new office, it's the building that I own now. So if I wouldn't have never had to go and find that new office space, I probably wouldn't own the building that I'm in now. So all of it worked out, and that's how I look at everything. Everything has a silver lining behind it. So,
Yes,
but no hiring though.
I think that it's clear that you can be resilient after a divorce.
Yes.
That's clear. So whether you're the wife, whether you're the husband, you can be resilient and bounce back. And even if you're continuing to pay alimony, you can still bounce back from that and move beyond. One thing that we've learned about Brian is he's a world traveler. So he travels the world. How freeing is that for you, travel in and of itself?
It's a beautiful thing. Because first of all, it's one of my desires. Whenever you can live your destined life, that's probably one of the most fulfilling things that you can do as a human being. If you say, this is what I want to do in my life before I die, and you're able to do that as often and consistent as you want, that's a beautiful thing. So that's why I don't take that for granted. So to be able to do things on my own, and this is why I say success is different to everybody. So I don't push success of making a lot of money to one person versus the other.
Right.
To me, success is having freedom, having the ability to do what you want to do on your terms. So for me, that's why I say I'm extremely successful, because I can leave tomorrow and go out of the country and take a trip, and I don't have financial restraints. I don't have social restraints. I don't have any type of restraints. And to me, that's success. That's freedom. So it's a beautiful thing.
Wow. If you were to find another good thing, another way, what would you now do differently than you did in your previous marriage?
The one thing that I would do differently, and I know this now, and it's called maturity, wisdom. As you get older, I know a lot of people don't realize I'm as old as I am, because I live 31. Don't too much laugh. Yeah, but what happens is we joke and we clown and we laugh about it. But let me tell you something. I think was very powerful. Love languages.
Yes.
Love languages is very powerful, and I think I would tap into my partner's love language more.
Yes.
Because one thing about me, I'm always a provider. I've always been a provider. I always made sure anybody eats.
Yes.
Like it don't have to be family. It don't have to. I'm gonna make sure that everybody's good. And I think that carried over to my relationship. So I was a provider. Like my ex-wife, my daughter, they didn't have to worry about nothing, think about nothing. My parents don't have to worry about nothing, think about nothing. But what happens is I'm still not tapping into what satisfies you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I thought because the way I knew how to love is making sure you're good financially, making sure you're not worried about bills and all that. So that can happen in your love things. You may not even care. You might not, I don't care. I'll go to work, just touch me more. Or just hold me. Or just give me words of affirmation. Those type of things. So I think that goes a long way. And I think that's what I would do, because I love how I learned how to love. I love how I received love. You know, and so I think that's the thing, that we got to look into those things, because the way my parents loved me, that was my way of living. You know, and so, but now that I'm older, I'm mature, I think my next situation, I would tap into your love language, because that would be the thing to satisfy you.
Great. Y'all hear that, ladies?
Yeah. And I think that for ladies as well. We talk about ladies, and I know y'all have a ladies show. I don't think ladies manifest that enough with men. I don't think, you know, they don't look into that with men. And we're not difficult at all. We're not difficult at all. Yeah, we're not difficult at all. You know, because let me tell you, the simplest thing with men is really respect and appreciation. If you show a man respect and appreciation, that has to be earned, but that's when a man will tap out. If he feel like he's not being respected, you know, if he's not feel like he's being appreciated, because we not necessarily want, you don't have to get us flowers, or have to buy us gifts. You have to respect us as a man. Because what women don't realize is 90% of the things that happen with men is about ego. It's about ego. You tap into our ego, you get everything. That's all. A man want to basically
tap into the ego.
Tap into a man's ego and make him feel man. Make him feel worthy, and you'll get everything from him. You'll get everything from him. That's all he want to be respected. If he feel like he's a man, then he's gonna give you everything. But if you make more than him and you beat him out or let him know that, that's the problem. It's not a problem with you making more than him. It's a problem that you always let him know. Because now you didn't beat up his ego. You didn't took his masculinity. So when you do all of those things, now I don't feel like a man. If I don't feel like a man, how can I love you right?
That is true. That is so true.
Listen,
Yeah, exactly. And this is the reason why the Word of God tells a wife to respect their husband. He doesn't tell him, he doesn't say, the Word doesn't say love your husband, it says respect. So that goes a long way. That goes a long way.
And my thing, if I gotta teach you to respect, then I'm probably not for me anyway.
Right. Okay.
Because as an adult, you should already have respect for human beings. And more respect for your significant other. So that's it. You probably don't have it as an adult already, because characteristic traits don't come later in life. That's something that's within you. You know, so pick your person well, because you ain't gonna. What we want to do is change people. So we think, you know what? Oh, he's handsome. She's handsome. The body's crazy. They this, they that. You know, and I can change. I can make the no. No, you ain't gonna get no change at no 35, 40 years old. And who they are.
That is so true. You talked about the love languages, and we talked about it last season, and we talked about the reciprocation as well. So again, I think it's important that we reiterate that it's not only important to provide your love to people, your spouse, your partner, but also be able to reciprocate what they need as well. And that may come out of your comfort zone. I joke and I say that most men need words of affirmation, and that could be from the lack thereof that they receive from their mom. So sometimes it's hard for the other person, spouse, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, to see that it's not necessarily their job to heal their partner, but it's to help them through that and empower them and not lose their ego, like you said. So I think that's very important.
And if we didn't take on projects, we would be good, but we keep taking the projects. So I'm just saying.
And to that point, I think it's okay to build together. It's okay to build together. You know, every relationship, you know, you'll go in different phases. One may climb higher, one may stay stagnant just a bit, but it's always your job to uplift each other, empower each other, love on each other the way each other needs.
And it's so, but see, and that's the thing, that's where the communication come in. Because see, I tell you, there's a difference between communication and understanding. A lot of people communicate, but there's no understanding. Because the way I was brought up, my mom, I never, and even to this day, like my mom, my stepdad, and my dad, they don't openly say I love you. It's almost, when I say it to them and say it back, it's almost like a forced thing. And so, but I knew my parents loved me. It wasn't even a doubt in my mind, even though they never really showed it, they didn't talk about it. So I grew up the same way, expecting that my daughter know I love her, but not expressing it, which her mom was an expresser. So now it looks like it's two different things. Like my mom loved me more because my mom said it. And so you got to communicate those things. You got to ask your spouse, all right, how do you like to be? Are you expressive in love? I got to say, well, know what? This is how I was brought up. So be patient with me, because I don't tell you I love you as much as you say it to me, don't mean I don't love you equally.
That's right.
Because I always say, basically, I'm loving, but I may not know how to express love. I'm loving because, again, I'm going to basically give you all the signs that I love you, but I may not say it consistently. It may be, it may be easier for me to put it on a card. And so we got to understand, we got to meet people where they are.
Yes.
And so women, and I say this women because women may get it much more than men would, as far as I love you. So men don't reciprocate it as much. So if he's writing it to you and he's giving you a card and said, I love you, and all these different things, you got to accept that as the same. You got to, because again, that's his way of expressing it.
So the text message that says "I love you" more every morning is good. Okay, perfect.
And so that's what, and then if it's not, let him know, and y'all talk about it and say, well, you know what? Yeah, I'll do better at doing it, but it's not natural for me. Because what we want to do is we want to impose the way you was brought up on me and expect that to be the same. And I always say, how can you if you're unique? So if you're unique, that means I don't know what happened to you, with you, for you, before you. Because again, you're one of a kind, you say. So you're going to have to teach me what you love and like.
That's right.
And you're going to have to probably get it out of me sometime because I'm not as expressive. So we got a lot, and it's not always childhood trauma. It's just childhood raising.
Yes, that's true.
Because if I've been raised somewhere for 25, or a certain way for 25 years, that's who I am at this point internally. Till I see something different.
Right.
And so now I'd be like, damn, my mom never expressed it to me like that. All right, now I can open up a little more because now I was always closed because I thought you don't talk about that stuff based on my family. And so I think it's a matter of understanding your partner. And I think women, we assume and we're guessing a lot of times. And it's okay, especially because men are not emotional creatures. So sometimes y'all got to dig into us a little bit. We don't have to dig into y'all because it's natural for you.
Yes.
So you comparing, you're saying, well, I always do this. I don't have to do such and such. And why you got it? Because again, we're two different individuals by nature. Genetically, we're different. So you may have to dig into me.
Yes.
That's good.
The Bible says, in all thy getting, get understanding.
Yes.
And so sometimes that's part of the change, not changing one another, but getting the understanding and teaching each other about each other. I like this. I don't like that. You spoke to me like this. It made me feel like this. You have to, I think some people are afraid to talk about the deeper things.
Yes.
And because it's uncomfortable for them. How would you advise some of the men to begin to be vulnerable to talk about those deeper things with their spouse when they don't understand? That's good.
And basically, I would say because we take things for a grain of salt. Sometimes, oh my God, see, and I think we have to learn empathy and sympathy.
Yes.
And I think we have to just kind of preach that to men and say, all right, you got to be a little more empathetic to her situation. Because we grew up just wanting to be tough, and that was the whole thing of a man. So we can't understand when you start crying, what you think is over little things.
Right.
But again, I got to be empathetic. And I think one of the things I grew into being older, being wise, I always said I'm a relationship and sex therapist. So, so my mind is a little bit freer now. But again, I'm empathetic and I got to see it through your lenses now. You know, and I think we just got to have that conversation as a woman, and you got to and say it. You know what? I'm not nagging. I'm not nagging, but this is what I love. You know, this is what would make me happy. And I think you got to, and so eventually he'll have to see. You know, he'll see it. If he don't catch or try to transform, and again, you got to be patient, because if I've been programmed for 25, 30 years one way, it's going to take me a minute to do it.
Right.
So if you say, you know what, I like to hear I love you every day. Right. I like to get a phone call, text saying, how you doing? How's your day going? It's going to take me time to do that. But you have to read the effort.
Yes.
So you got to say, all right, ladies, you got to step back and say, all right, you know what? Let me allow him to love me the way, you know, I want to be loved. But it's going to take some time. But I see the effort. You know, I see the effort. So I think that's how men start to see, you know, when you start to be vulnerable and them opening up a little bit more, you know, by you expressing it. Sometimes you're going to have to be patient with us. You know?
Patient. I like the word patient. Okay. So in summary, communication, 5 love languages, really get to know who that person is. And because we're unique, we're going to have some differences. So we have to be patient with each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to explain, you know, those differences. You know, and I know with me, because my personality is really laid back. I don't stress over much of nothing. You know, I don't worry about nothing. So my personality comes across as nonchalant. It's not caring. Like, it may be a big deal to you, but this is what I had to learn, because it's that serious to you.
Yes. Right.
Is that serious to you?
Right.
So this is why we have to have this conversation, and men got to get together and have this. What I'm saying now is like, well, bro, I understand it ain't that big to you, but to her it is.
Yes.
And so this is where you have to take an L, if you want to or not, to make sure she's happy without losing your happiness.
Yes.
Men need a lot more of those mature conversations with other men. Women have. You know, we have our community of women where we're able to have conversations and we say, sis, that's not the right way to do it. I'm not sure if that's happening. Do you think that that's happening with men?
No, I got a couple of platforms that I've done before, and I brought men together, and I got a couple of concepts that I'm gonna do to bring men together again, to kind of talk about this and get a little bit in depth on how to be better husbands, you know, how to be better men, how to be better businessmen. And we're going to talk about all that, just our health and things. But again, I think that's one of those where, ladies, you just got to understand that we're built different.
Yeah, got it.
And I think we can't react every time in the way you want us to, because this is how you would react. And I think that's where I would see the biggest difference is at, because you got to express to me and let me transform to become that person. Because just genetically, with our thought processes are different. So when you not communicating this and you're not saying this, it ain't gonna never add up. The math ain't gonna never be math, because again, I'm gonna think it's trivial. Your emotions gonna kick in because you think it's this, but as a man, it's nothing. And so we have to have those. You have to be patient, but you have to communicate. And if he says, "Are you just always nagging me with that?" Be honest with you, that may not be the person. That may not be the person. Then you may have to let that one go. Because again, if he's not willing to change for the better for you without giving up himself. Because again, I think little things like that, I'm not giving up a whole lot for that. You know, I'm not giving up a lot for that. You know, and so we have to understand that sometimes the allure of having a partner, the allure of being in a relationship, the perception from our friends, all that is greater than the reality of where we are.
Yeah,
that's good. We just got some info. Ladies, come on.
All right. So, Brian, we thank you for your time. I hope the men, you know, last year I watched the movie The Forge, and it had a group of men, older men training the younger. In different cultures, we have quinceañeras, we have sweet 16, bar mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs. I think that as people of color, those who are mature and can have these conversations with the younger generations, even those that are older and not yet reached their peak of maturity, that these conversations need to happen.
Yes.
Women do it all of the time, even if it's within their households with their aunts, their grandmothers. But men, we urge you, we implore you to have more conversation with each other and talk about those things that you need. Talk to those people who have experienced those things and you're able to mature, grow, and overcome and empower other men. Pay it forward. So, Brian, we thank you so much for being with Bitter to Beautiful today. We appreciate the nuggets, the boulders, everything that you dropped today.
And let me say this last thing.
Sure.
And because it's always going to be somebody who always opposes, he just said this, and this. I don't speak for every man. I speak basically from personal experiences and experiences I've been with. And I've talked to a lot of guys. You got to understand, I've talked to a lot of men over the years, and we've had conversations. So I speak from a perspective of personal stuff as well as having conversations with a multitude of men, not every man.
Yes.
So, I wouldn't say this is every man, but it's not too many that ain't going to agree with most of what we talk about.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. So, Brian, tell us, where can our reviewers find you?
All right. So if you're a social media head on Instagram at Richboy RICHBOIJUP1, and that's Richboy Jupe 1. LB Tax Service is my company. So the website is lbtaxservice.com. I'm sorry, LB Tax and Business Advisors is the company, but LB Tax Service is the website. If you have any tax concerns, questions, if you need to connect with me or whatever, please reach out. Please reach out. Like I said, I have the RB Solution Center, which is a co-work space for entrepreneurs. We have virtual addresses, virtual and permanent office space, podcast room, event space, photography studio, massage room. So we have a little bit of everything. And then the book, you can go to my website at richboyinvestments.com to purchase the book. It is on Amazon as well, but I realize that Amazon is breaking a brother in half. So you can go to Amazon, but you can also get it from richboyinvestments.com. So, please reach out, man. And men, like I said, if you need to talk, and I give this option every time, if you need to talk to a unbiased person, because a lot of times as men, we don't want to talk to friends because we don't want friends to know our business because we're supposed to have this tough exterior, and then men too, because I had to learn this, and I listened to a guy a few years ago that I was that guy. If a guy came to me with a problem or issue or something, and I thought that was sensitive, I'm like, man, go ahead on with all that. But now I've learned, like, if a man come to another man, it takes a lot of pride and ego to him come to another man and let him know his business. So I'm like, bro, look, anytime you need to talk, I don't care if it's 3, 4 in the morning. So men, be receptive to your friends. It's a no judge zone, and you never know how much somebody may need you.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining the Bitter to Beautiful podcast. We are across all podcast platforms, and we are so excited that you join us week after week. Remember, God doesn't want you bitter. He wants you beautiful.
As we wrap up today's episode, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to you, our listeners. Transitioning from bitter to beautiful isn't just a moment, it's a movement, a continuous journey of transforming pain into power, one heart at a time.
And to all our first-time listeners, welcome to the family. We are a community of souls committed to healing, growth, and transformation. Click on the link in the bio to subscribe to our mailing list and tune in every week. When you subscribe, you'll also receive information about our live pop-up rooms on Clubhouse.
As we embrace life's journey and find the beauty in overcoming bitterness, remember, bitterness isn't beautiful, and your healing is just the beginning of a beautiful new chapter.
Don't forget, new episodes are released every Saturday. Whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Listen Notes, there is a space for you here to find healing, inspiration, and strength.
Thank you for joining us. Until next time, keep embracing the journey, keep healing, and keep transforming. Here's to turning all our bitter experiences into beautiful victories. See you next time.